Middle East AI News, February 10th. Welcome to Middle East AI News. February 10th, 2022. Here's a summary of some key Middle East technology stories from the week. As always, for more detail, more stories and lots of useful links, check out the full text version of Carrington Malin's LinkedIn newsletter. The largest unmanned maritime exercise in the world. IMX 2022, the largest unmanned maritime exercise in the world, and the biggest naval exercise in the Middle East region to date, is currently taking place across the Arabian Gulf, Arabian Sea, the Red Sea, Gulf of Oman, and off the east coast of Africa in the Indian Ocean. It's significant, because 5 months ago the U.S. Naval Forces Central Command, or NAVCENT, established a new AI and unmanned technologies unit based in Bahrain. Task Force 59 is the first of its kind in the U.S. Navy, and has been formed to accelerate the integration of AI and unmanned systems with maritime operations. Just weeks after it was formed, the new task force oversaw the first NAVCENT training exercise to integrate USVs, with manned assets at sea, in the 5th Fleet's area of operations. The setting up of Task Force 59, and the staging of IMX 2022, both come at a time when unmanned assets are becoming a critical component of defense strategies in the Middle East. Unmanned assets have been prioritized by all the region's leading military powers, creating a fast-growing and increasingly competitive market for AVs, UAVs, USVs, and other autonomous systems. Meanwhile, the threats posed by unmanned military assets, in the hands of both traditional adversaries and terrorist groups in the region, are plain to see. Yemen-based Houthi rebels have repeatedly targeted Saudi Arabia and the UAE with explosive drones, while, earlier this month, an Iraqi militia group claimed responsibility for an attack on the UAE. The new prioritization of unmanned assets has also presented opportunities for defense contractors, tech startups, and investors, with research and development of new autonomous systems being fast-tracked across the region. This development fits in well with plans in Saudi Arabia and the UAE to increase national defense production. Opportunities to develop military AVs, UAVs, USVs, and other autonomous assets provide some low-hanging fruit for aspiring defense exporters. However, opportunities for U.S. and other global exporters can be expected to remain at the high end. In addition to some 9,000 personnel and up to 50 ships, from more than 60 U.S. partner nations, IMX 2022 includes more than 80 unmanned systems, from 10 countries. According to the U.S. Navy, unmanned assets being used in the exercise include vertical takeoff and landing UAVs, unmanned underwater vehicles, and hybrid surface and undersea vehicles. Considering the location of Task Force 59, we could well see more U.S. autonomous vehicle and robotics companies move into the Gulf. And such moves would, no doubt, also lead to some lucrative sales opportunities with U.S. partners in the region. However, how likely is it that this would lead to technology transfer or joint venture opportunities? With the necessarily strict regulations on technology transfer and technology security applied by the U.S. to its defense contractors, Saudi and UAE defense developers are perhaps best to focus on raising their own game. Are robots already running the beautiful game? FIFA's new video assistant referee, or VAR, disallowed its first goal last week, in a Club World Cup match between UAE club Al-Jazira and Tahiti's AS Pirae last Thursday. Al-Jazira striker Al-Amieri Zaid was convinced that he'd scored his second goal of the game, but the VAR ruled him offside. The VAR technology was developed by UK-based Hawkeye Innovations, and has already been tested across several FIFA tournaments, including the Arab Cup held in Qatar during December. FIFA plans to use the VAR at the World Cup, Qatar 2022 later this year. Hawkeye's semi-automated offsides technology uses 10 to 12 dedicated cameras, installed under the stadium's roof, to capture up to 29 data points at 50 times per second, as the cameras track players on the field. The data is sent back to VAR's AI system, meaning that most offside calls can be made in seconds, rather than minutes. Hawkeye creates a variety of solutions for sport, including data analytics, officiating systems, and digital products for sport broadcasters. However, the company's disruptive football play is not appreciated by everyone in the sport. The developer aims to advance the technology so that it will be able to recreate a football match as a virtual animation, with just a few seconds delay. It is hoped that the technology will give coaches, players, and other support staff the ability to watch and replay the match from any particular vantage point, in the event that an incident requires investigation or debate. These are the top stories for this week. Do scroll through the full Middle East AI news on LinkedIn to read more about these stories and other breaking emerging tech news from around the region. Thanks for listening.